Yo, 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 welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade. Today on the show, we've got brighter days ahead for my Lakers, Sneakers app's latest attempt to get you to like them, Adidas addressing tariffs, this week's hottest release, and of course, we have our Hard Pass. All right, let's start the show with some hot takes. Look, nobody likes Sneakers app. The antagonistic relationship between sneakerheads and their favorite app has been well documented through the years. No matter the launch, no matter the gimmick, the people express their frustration trying to buy hyped kicks. So, after years of draws, passes, scratch and sniff pictures, location, or time-based launches, Sneakers is trying something different with Sneakers Link. Instead of hanging around the app at 7 a.m. on a Saturday hoping for a drop that will never pay off, now Nike wants you to keep an eye out for their chosen few. Along with their various social media channels, Sneakers will be partnering up with artists, athletes, and creatives to share links that will give you the chance to buy your coveted pair before everybody else. So, not only do you have to keep your Sneakers app open all the time, now you have to follow literally everybody on the Nike payroll and constantly check their posts on every social media platform in the hopes that they might drop a link. Like, yes, follow the usual suspects like LeBron or Saquon or Asia or Rory or Sabrina, but also follow me because I might partner up with Nike on a Sneakers link. That's an interesting play in an era when we should all probably log off our phones, so I wonder how this is going to play with the base. Actually, I already know how this is going to play with the audience. Like, if you're a fan of Eric Costin and check his socials regularly, your chances to score a future SB might be better than your typical Sneakers launch. But what if your feed is carefully crafted to prevent algorithmic shenanigans? Now you have to add people you're not interested in or create a dummy account and hope you luck out. The reality is, people who hit on this early will like it. But eventually, the same complaints as other sneaker launches will come back because it doesn't solve the fundamental problem that Nike does not make enough type sneakers to satisfy demand. Even though part of the reason they're hyped and coveted is because, well, there isn't enough to satisfy demand. In other words, Nike has made absolutely positively nobody happy. Good luck on this gimmick, Nike, and the one after that, and the one after that, etc., etc. But speaking of good luck, Adidas just opened a huge flagship store in Las Vegas, and based on the pictures, things look pretty good. Not sure when the next time I will be in Vegas, but I would love to check it out sooner rather than later because, man, here comes Adidas CEO Bjorn Gulden with the word of caution that prices for upcoming products could increase in light of the tariff uncertainty. Now, this has obviously led to a lot of internet economists to come crawling out of the woodwork to share their alleged expertise with fellow sneakerheads on all of the platforms. I'm here to tell you that you should do yourself a favor and block all of them. Even if they are one of those Nike partners who will have a sneakers link in the future, block them. Not because they may or may not know what they're talking about. Block them because they are not there to help educate people on how tariffs actually work. They are there to engage and enrage. Even the ones that you might agree with and actually understand why corporations are not your friends and do not absorb the cost of tariffs and instead pass it on to the consumer, block them too. And if you want to ignore my advice, more power to you. Find those good faith arguments and help those who are genuinely curious and willing to absorb knowledge and not just waste time. Just make sure you're actually talking to a real person and not a bot or something more nefarious. April 24th was this past week, and you know what that means, right? You don't? Well, it's everybody wished Tinker Hatfield and Travis Scott happy birthday. It also meant that it was time for everybody to rate their respective outputs in the sneaker world. And I gotta say, let's try a little harder next time, people. Just ranking their sneakers every year is getting kind of lazy to me. It's just another attempt to foster debate and engagement bait when we could honor these creators for how they have helped grow sneaker culture in their own way. Tinker's iconic designs helped propel Nike to the top of the business, while Travis has helped elevate sneakers that were already deemed legendary to greater heights, including some that were created by Tinker Hatfield. So a salute to both sirs. The sneaker world would be a very, very different place without their stamp on it, and that is for sure. All right, for a pick of the week, it's the Dot Swoosh Nike Air Force One Dirty Triple Right. This is going to be on May 7th for 1:30. While there are a lot of interesting sneakers dropping this week, the one that's been getting the most buzz is a pair of all-white Air Force One lows. It doesn't seem like a big deal at first, but the reason they've been getting a lot of attention is their condition, I guess. When you buy them, they're dirty. I mean, dirty like the meme of people wearing them without a care in the world dirty. However, the gimmick is that over time, the dirty layer will actually dissipate and become cleaner. How that works is unclear, but friend of the program Brendan Dunn actually tried to wipe away the sheen, and it didn't look that much cleaner than before. So I guess we'll see over time how clean these sneakers will become. Or, you could just buy a clean white pair and keep them clean like any other self-respecting sneaker enthusiast would. But that's just me. The Milwaukee Bucks had themselves a week, huh? What? Did you think I was going to talk about my Lakers? Well, we will, just not in the way that you think we will. And yeah, I saw Anthony Edwards and the Adidas King Slayer ad. I love it and I respect it. Too bad I'm not going to see any more of them because I've blocked them for being haters. I'm just kidding. Maybe. Anyways, back to the Bucks. They lose again in the first round of the playoffs. Damian Lillard returns after a scary blood clot issue, only to tear his Achilles that could potentially keep him on the sideline until the season after next. And now everybody is all but certain that Giannis Antetokounmpo has played his final game for the only team he's ever known. Let's go over what this means for Dame Time and the Greek Freak, a partnership that had so much potential for championship success, but might end up in the what-if pile of NBA history alongside Penny Hardaway and Jason Kidd, Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, that actually became Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden, and then went back to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving after James Harden bounced, and finally it was just Kevin Durant after Kyrie found redemption and Anta in Dallas. So you get what I'm saying. Anyway, this sucks for Damian Lillard, man, and for fans of this game we love. Dame was, I shouldn't say was because he posted on IG that he's not going out this way, but it's hard to imagine things are ever going to be the same when he does return. Like, despite being a multiple-time All-Star, an Olympic gold medalist, and one of the 75 greatest players in the league history, Dame still had an underdog vibe to him. Part of it was because he was tucked away in Portland for a majority of his career, but no matter how many clutch shots he made and tapped his wrist to let us know it was Dame time, anything he did was overshadowed by a transcendent superstar named Steph Curry. If Steph was this generation's MJ, Dame was Clyde Drexler, the mostly undisputed number 2, apologies to Kyrie. The Dame-Clyde comparison was so one-to-one, right down to Dame being traded to a team with a foreign-born big man who had already won a championship. And it looked promising at first. Sure, the basketball dorks of the internet immediately saw the flaws in the team-up, but we saw Dame hitting game winners and Giannis doing Giannis thing. Looked fine to us, right? But after 2 first-round exits and an injury that might sap him of the last bit of athleticism he had, any hope that Dame would get a Clyde-like finish kind of seems like a pipe dream now. Now, as for Giannis, all the respect in the world to him for not taking liberties with Tyrese Halliburton's dad. That scene reminded me of pro wrestling in the 90s when idiot fans would jump the guardrails and enter the ring or just interfere with the show going on. Wrestlers would go from play fighting to laying a real smackdown on somebody so fast. But that's the rule. The ring, the field, the court, they're sacred. Doesn't matter if it's Tyrese Halliburton's dad, John Morant's dad, Jimmy Goldstein, or future president Stephen A. Smith, whoever. Fans have no right to step on the court, and they certainly don't have the right to taunt a player in the manner that Tyrese's dad did after the especially chippy playoff series they just went through. Yell, cheer, joke from your seat. Have at it. The fact that Tyrese had to come out and say he didn't agree with his dad's actions shows you how bad of a look it is. It's like an influencer shoving a camera in your face and hoping for a viral moment while you're out for a walk minding your business. There is so much brain rot in kids and grown-ass adults that nobody understands that there's a line you don't cross. We live in a society not just of habitual line steppers, but chronic line steppers, and it is dumb as hell. Anyway, speaking of dumb, follow me here. Here are some fake trades I made on the Sports Track trade machine that bring Giannis and his rebounding to my 17-time world champion and one-time NBA Cup champion Los Angeles Lakers. Look, if everybody is so sure Giannis is out of Milwaukee, why not wildly speculate? We never thought in a million years Luka would end up here, but he did. Might as well speak Giannis to LA into reality as well. All right. So the first trade is a straight-up swap of Giannis and basically everybody not named LeBron and Luka. Throw in a few draft picks and swaps, and it's conceivable the Bucks take this because it would give them a competitive team in the East with pieces that could package into other deals for their rebuild. On the other side, this would nuke any depth we didn't have, forcing JJ to play LeBron, Luka, Giannis, Bronny, and Brian Windhorst 48 minutes a game. Probably not the best move, but having Giannis and Luka for the next 5 years might be too enticing to pass up. Next, we've got a three-teamer that moves another star that could probably benefit from a change of scenery. Cue all the Zion and the cheese capital of the world jokes, but maybe just being in a new environment will do him some wonders. Again, Lakers basically trade everybody they have not named LeBron and Luka, but that might still be worth the risk. Now finally, again, stay with me here, the most NBA 2K ass trade of all time involving Giannis, Zion, Kevin Durant, and well, LeBron. The principles are Giannis and KD to the Lakers, Bradley Beal and CJ McCollum to Phoenix, LeBron, Bronny, and Zion to Phoenix, and everybody else to New Orleans. Does this make sense at all? No, not at all. Only way Milwaukee takes this deal is if Nico Harrison is all of a sudden their new GM. But ignore that bit for a second and think of the possibilities. LA gets KD's last run. Phoenix gets LeBron's final chapter with the hope that Zion can stay healthy and gel with Booker. And New Orleans gets to rebuild with Austin and Dalton and a truckload of draft picks and swaps. Again, bad move for the Bucks. But hey, at least Dame and CJ can reunite 18 months from now. That counts for something, right? All right, Rob Pelinka. Look, give me a call and we can sort out the details. I'm down to be the assistant GM to the Lakers. Anyway, it's time for this week's Hard Pass. We'll take a look at something in the culture that just needs to go. Like trying to cape for Shedeur Sanders. For the past week, a lot of the media time has been spent on the shocking drop that Colorado's Shedeur Sanders experienced in the draft. Plenty of TV personalities and NFL content machines had Deion Sanders' son as a first-round pick, if not the top overall prospect. NFL GMs, well, they beg to differ. Teams that had QB needs passed on Sanders multiple times before he ended up with the Cleveland Browns in the 5th round and after they had already taken a QB a few rounds earlier. As it stands, Sanders will be competing for a starting job or a backup role on a team that has him, a fellow rookie QB they clearly liked more because they picked him earlier, a couple of vets, and Deshaun Watson's nasty ass. It's not looking good for Shedeur, who came into the draft with the loudest daddy booster since LeVar Ball. The difference between Shedeur and Lonzo, Jello, and LaMelo is that his pops is Deion freaking Sanders, a legitimate legend of not just football, but sports. Like, period. So, why was there a gap between the prognosticators, the fans, and the people who actually work in the league? Look, if there's one thing that the NFL draft has proven to us over the years, and that is that nobody really knows. Yeah, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback ever, but he was taken in the 6th round, 199th overall. LeBron James was so sure of Johnny Manziel that he wore the Money Manziel shirt and signed him to his marketing agency. Johnny Football ended up becoming a headliner for all the wrong reasons. Sometimes you get a game changer like Peyton Manning or Cam Newton, and other times you get Ryan Leaf. The quarterback of my 5-time Super Bowl champion San Francisco 49ers was the last pick of the 2022 draft and ended up taking the starting job from the 3rd pick of the 2021 draft and a QB who took the team to the Super Bowl 2 years prior. Maybe more than any other sport, football is all about being in the right place at the right time. All of these so-called experts on TV can help give the normie fans an idea of who's good coming out of college, but once they start hyping up their bona fides and touting their ability to do a better job than NFL GMs, that's when you should do a Kendrick and turn the TV off. Everybody is just as clueless as the next person. And look, the NFL is a lot of things, but being above drafting a kid just because they might be a tad arrogant is not one of them. The reality is, Shedeur Sanders' record in Colorado was 13-12. We're not experts, but when we watch his highlights, we weren't blown away. They're good, but they're not jump out of the screen good like Lamar Jackson was when he was in college. If the Tennessee Titans, the team with the number 1 overall pick, really thought Shedeur was better than Cam Ward, Shedeur could have acted like the biggest fool, recorded a sequel to his dad's hit record, Must Be the Money, punched Tyrese Halliburton's dad for messing with Giannis, and he still would have been drafted number 1 or at least have been a first-round pick. Instead, he went in the 5th round and will be in the fight of his career to earn a spot as a Cleveland Browns quarterback. So, was there a conspiracy to humble Shedeur and Deion like a lot of media types and fans are claiming? I doubt that because, again, the NFL consistently turns a blind eye to players with questionable morals as long as they can produce on the field. All we've heard are reports that Shedeur thinks highly of himself and that he had a few bad interviews with teams that were interested in drafting him. Yeah, whatever. Never forget that some of these interviews reportedly asked some of the dumbest and most humiliating that has nothing to do with football. The best thing Shedeur could do now is show out and prove them wrong. do the work and grind and get that spot in Cleveland. If anything, his slide in the draft and the moronic prank call made by that 21-year-old man who's the son of an Atlantic Falcons coordinator has kind of turned him into a sympathetic figure. If he succeeds and ends up having a productive NFL career, then the story will be a lot more interesting than if he was chosen one and everything just lined up for him. But none of this is our hard pass. I've heard the name Colin Kaepernick heard a few more times than I'm comfortable hearing. Let's not do that, people. To compare Shedeur to Cap is insulting to the sacrifices that Cap made to shine a light on the social causes that he fights for to this day. Yes, before you hop on your keyboard to do your "if Cap was any good, he would still be in the league" argument, I know. You're not wrong, but it doesn't diminish the impact Cap has had beyond football. To compare what he's had to endure to what will end up being a blip in Shedeur's career is people being a prisoner of the moment. Shedeur is just beginning his journey and already has a lot on his plate. Let's not add an agent for change to the checklist when it doesn't seem like he or his dad has any interest in that stuff. Don't use Shedeur as a cudgel for your hot take. At least, not yet. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you guys for watching Hard Pass. I am Jacques Slade. I'll see you next week, but not before we leave you with a viewer Hard Pass.
Hey there, Hard Pass team. I'm a big fan of the show. I wanted to ask, with the KD6s coming back, what do you think happened to people not wearing that type of shoe anymore? Like, I'm an 18-year-old kid. I'm kind of new to the sneaker game. I love the KD6. I have Kobe 9 lows that I wear all the time, but up here in Seattle, I think I'm the only person I've ever seen rocking shoes like that. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Rest in peace, Seattle Supersonics. Bye-bye.
You know, that's honestly a great question. Many of us that have been in the sneaker world for a long time, we thought that the return of the KD, because of how much energy was there when they first launched, was going to be a bigger thing, but it hasn't turned out that way. And I'd be lying to you if I told you I knew why, because I don't. You know, it could be KD. It could be the shoe style. There's so many factors that come into it. But I love the fact that you're rocking them and that you love them, because honestly, that's what matters at the end of the day. Sorry. Anyway, if you'd like to possibly be featured in a future episode, or if you have a question for me, call us at 818-493-9325. Leave a short message, your socials if you want, no more than 30 seconds. All right. I'll see you next week. Peace.